I can remember as a high school student being on my way to school in the morning on Fridays. It was around 6:30 a.m. You tune in to Paul and Young Ron Brewer on 94.9 Zeta. On comes Bouncer Smith giving the fishing report for the day. 7 o'clock is when school starts. My buddy Jimmy Mack and I had a decision to make on Fridays on our way to school, whether we were going to go to school or not. And a lot of that depended on Bouncer Smith's report in the morning. And I can give you a specific day that Bouncer said that the sail fishing was good. It was a little rough out there, and Jimmy Mack and I did a U-turn, went out there and caught some sailfish, and you can see that in this picture here. So we went out with one of the most well-respected, well-known captains in South Florida.
We got to drop jigs with Bouncer Smith.
This is a guy that has, I believe, around 100 world records or been a part of 100 world records, and has won many tournaments in South Florida. But not only that, since the 60s has been running charters out of South Florida. So the plan for the day was to meet up with Michael Falk, and we're gonna put a link for his Instagram here, Falk Adventures, Captain Bouncer Smith, as well as Captain Chris and his first mate Aiden on Angler's Envy. We are hoping to get into some grouper. Definitely wanted to put our one vessel limit of snowy grouper, and just for fun, see if we can't mess around with some American red snappers. And for me, the exciting part of the day was to drop some jigs with Captain Bouncer, who's been doing it for a long time, not exactly the way we're doing it. He had a lot of questions about, why do we use the rods that we do, and why not drop smaller jigs? And I could tell you, for an old school captain, he definitely didn't want to hear anything about grams. He wants to hear ounces when it comes to the weight of the jigs. And I totally get that, because I'm pretty sure anywhere in the US we talk in ounces, and then all of a sudden when it goes to jigs we talk about grams. We use the light rods because you're jigging all day, and I can tell you that when you're working an outfit all day long, the more weight that you could shave off of it and the easier that it is to operate, the better that it's going to be for you to stay on the rail and not get fatigued, especially on a day like this, because this day was blazing hot. I can tell you that if you left a jig on the deck, it was going to be burning your hand by the time you picked it up, and anything that you set down, if it wasn't sitting in the shade from the bimini cover or the console shade, it was going to burn your hands when you picked it up. So our first run out, approximately an hour. It was about 30 miles out. We were going into a little bit deeper water, trying to catch some of the deeper fish like the snowy grouper and any of the delicious deep variety of fish. As soon as we stopped, we realized that our speed over ground is 4 knots. That is not ideal for us. Some of the preparations that you could do for deep dropping in heavy current situations is, number one, you could use heavier weight jigs. So even though, let's say we're sitting in 500 feet of water, generally speaking, you can get down with a 400 gram jig, but you could bring 600 gram, 800 gram, or even 1,000 gram jig, which, yes, that's gonna wear you out. It's super heavy, but at least it gives you a chance to get down. And the next thing, you're combating the current. So having a line within diameter is really gonna help you cut through the water column and to stay vertical. So what we do is we scope down to 20-pound tests, even 15-pound tests. I've gone as low as 10, but I wouldn't recommend it. And the only downside about using this light pound test, you can catch big fish with it. Trust me, I caught an 80-pound grouper on 20-pound test. The downside is if you rub it onto anything or the other lines or anything that could cause any slight abrasion on it, you're probably gonna pop off on your next fish. So you need to be very careful about where you touch your line as you're walking around the boat with your rod and reel. First fish on the deck, leave it up to Captain Bouncer Smith. We were still trying to figure out what we were gonna do about bait fishing as well as slow pitch jigging at the same time, which wasn't exactly working due to the current conditions and being that we were moving at 4 knots speed over ground. So the bait guys were able to stay vertical, but our jigs were kicking out the back. Somehow Bouncer managed to get his jig down to the bottom, get a couple taps on the bottom, and not only that, he managed to pull up a snowy grouper.
See how much the line's going behind the boat now? It's above the thermocline.
It's about to pop up on the surface of this.
Isn't that what we came here for?
Yeah.
Grouper! Yeah, you got a grouper! Captain Vance, are you serious?
How'd you do it?
How'd you do it?
I just listen to Johnny. But we need to have a powwow.
Nice one down there.
It's a puppy. Probably breaks Chris's heart to catch one that small instead of a 60-pounder.
He was floating by the time he handed it to me.
My very first drop fishing with Johnny Jigs on a special mission, my very first drop. And Johnny Jigs said, stop going down. I went another 200 feet and then I couldn't wind the dumb thing up. But it's a Johnny Jig rod with a beautiful, what jig is that?
That is the All Glow Torpedo 500.
Oh, that's the one I heard so much about. Hold it. Got it?
Yeah.
Good thing, because I don't take gloves.
This is exactly what I wanted. To see a guy that I've admired growing up over the years land a fish on a lure that a company I have started with my business partners, Chris and Will. That was something special for me. So I got an opportunity to read Bouncer's book, I'm Not Done Yet, before we hit the water. The man has done some incredible things. I would highly suggest going on to Amazon and picking up a copy of this book, and he runs through his stories of doing crossings over to South America as well as going over to the Bahamas, fishing into the Virgin Islands, and then he gets into some very interesting details about migration patterns of mahi and also a lot of very interesting details about fishing in South Florida and his experience. And it's almost like going through one story to the next story. It's like watching a YouTube video, and it's one YouTube video after the next one about his adventures and what he's learned along the way and some of the people that help him become the man that he is today. This charter was incredible. It doesn't get any better than a Freeman. I would say it's all downhill from there. The captain, not only did he pick up really fast on what we were trying to do with the slow pitch jigging and set the drift. I feel like if you're looking for a slow pitch jigging charter out of Cape Canaveral, this is your guy. And not only that, his mate Aiden was very helpful. Anything that we needed while we were on the boat, he was on it, and you couldn't ask for a more upbeat, nicer group of guys and a better boat to be out on. So the American Red Snapper, I've loved this fish, and even though we have one day this year, which we'll talk about, July 12th, to catch this fish.
You can't even call it a short season. It's a single day to harvest red snapper down here on the South Atlantic coast. So I gotta believe that day is gonna be absolutely crazy and chaotic at the launches and at the places to get red snapper. I hope everyone be safe and works together. You know, there's a good chance everyone's gonna get the fish that they want to get. So just, you know, be patient, take your terms. July 12th, that's all we get.
It's an incredible fish to hook into because it pulls like an amberjack. It is a very, very aggressive fish, and there is no better way to catch them than on the jig. I finally got tight on an ARS. You could hear the drag pulling out on my electric reel, even though I was fighting the fish manually and I could have just pushed the button. Really, I just like to use the retrieval button for reeling up the jig. Dialing the fish is a different story.
Come on, Johnny, you're 0 for 3.
0 for 3!
0 for 3, man. How dare you?
This guy is pretty strong, I believe.
Well, if you take a shower,
This is a cool species. But you can hear the dinging on this reel when he pulls drag. So I've got the seaboard set to alarm as the drag goes out. But it's very hot out here today, guys. You'll notice that I have my hood on. I'm trying to protect my skin from the sun, and it's very calm. There's not a lot of breeze out here. It's a big fish, man.
Big American Red.
Changed up my jig, and then as soon as I switched up the jig,
Actually,
I got tight on a very nice ARS.
about the same.
Look at that. What a beaut, man. What an absolute beauty.
I was about to put lime green on. That's what was in my mind.
Yeah, Chris was talking to me about switching it out, hold it up for the camera, switching it out for lime green. And so I did that and just got tight on this ARS, and Aiden here is gonna send him back down on the descending tool.
Once again, a really, really fun fish to catch on the jig. It's a disappointment that we can't you know, harvest even but a few of them from time to time. July 12th will be only the day that we're going to be able to do that.
So Bouncer hooked up on one of these fish, and let's be real, Captain Bouncer, he's 76 now. He's not getting around like he used to back in the day. He hooked the fish in true tradition of a charter boat captain, handed the rod to me and let me fight the fish in for him. And that was pretty cool because I finally got to get tight on a fish because I was not hooking up. And then not only that, the rod was passed to me by Captain Bouncer. And then the third cool thing was it was on a Johnny Jig. You can't beat that. It's a win-win for everybody. Captain Bouncer hooked up on a pretty nice fish. Drag's a bit tight. It was pulling the rod to the gunnel for him, so he passed it off to me, but he did all the work getting the fish hooked up. And good charter captain spirit passes the rod off.
I act like I'm 76 years old or something.
I know.
Oh, here it is.
It's flowing. It's the verdict.
That's flowing. Oh, ARS.
Oh, big ARS, dude. These are good.
That 20?
I'd say it's solid.
He's up there though.
Yeah, 15 pounds. Well, Pat, pretty small. There we go. What do you think, Captain Bouncer?
I think I'm having a right fine day.
Yeah.
We need to get this guy back in the water quick,
Very quickly.
and we need to equalize him.
Well, we'll come back on July 12th.
What a team.
And we know where he lives. I have been messing around with some auto jigging setup. I was trying to see if I couldn't get a jig down at the same time as the guys that were bait fishing by increasing the weight size and putting it out the back, which I was able to do. And the thing was, I had to bump it up to 1,000 grams. I was scoped out, but I was getting 4 or 5 taps on the bottom, and then I was able to switch it over into the auto jigging mode and rip it up and see if maybe there was a pelagic up in the water column. Granted, I wasn't successful at it on this day, but I can promise you it will work. Leave it up to Will to hook up on a fish while we've got the drone out, getting a beautiful shot off of the bow, tight on a fish, and he went back to back on 2 American red snappers. We weren't super deep. If the fish looks good, his eyes are sucked in, he's definitely moving well. You could see if their swim bladder is sticking out, then you probably want to use the descending tool, which is something that I want to talk to you guys about. Getting yourself prepared to descend fish whenever you're going out bottom fishing is important. If you have the descending tool already ready, like say on a kite rod, which you could just do a manual crank up on, or if you could designate an electric setup for descending fish down, it makes it 100% easier. And also, there is the equalizer descending tool that you hook into the fish, and that's what Captain Chris and Aiden had on the boat. But an even easier one is one that releases at depth, which is a more expensive equalizer tool, but I believe if you do some research, you can get these for free. But this one clips onto the fish's lip, and then you throw it over. Once it gets down to a certain depth, it automatically releases on the fish, and scientific studies have shown this is the best way to release the fish. If we can get these fish down to where they survive and the fish population increases, then they open up the seasons more on these fish and we can fish more. So it's easy for all of us as anglers to complain that why did they shut that down? Why did they shut this down? But at the end of the day, if we're not doing our part, then we're a part of the problem.
This is a Johnny Jig Pro Rigger rod, and I just got a beautiful snow grouper, and I'm exhausted. So I'm going to skip the next drop. But I'm looking into the sun, and I've got the reel right in position, and it completely blanks out this hook holder right here.
Right
You
here.
got to put the hook through the hook holder.
Yeah. Hook keeper
And you
right
make
here.
it look worse. Oh, yeah, I
And
was
this-
in the wrong place here.
This jig is just about as big as they come, but the purpose is hook keeper and then one of our jig wraps right here. I like to always get the hooks too, just to you know, prevent someone from getting
No
pinched.
doubt.
But that jig wrap then secures the jig to the rod. The bottom hook secures the jig to the rod. The hook keeper, you're tight, put in the rod holder, move to your next spot.
And JohnnyJigs.com or Johnny Jigs what?
JohnnyJigs.com.
I tell you what, I've been using their jigs for a couple of years now, and this is the first time I ever got to fish with them. But what a learning experience, and I'll be honest with you all guys. Johnny told me to stop dropping. I let it go a couple hundred more feet, never felt the bottom, never jigged the lure. I started to wind up and the rod definitely bent way over. So I got a problem here. Actually, it's a good problem. And what a treat.
Well, let's just say you put the pro in Pro Jigger.
That's right, that's a Pro Jigger. Johnny Jig Pro Jigger.
Power 6.
Power 6.
This is an action sample, so if you're from Broward County like me, you probably can't do that math. But it's 4 plus 2 equals power 6.
What does the 4 mean?
That's before we had the Power 6 decal. We never made the rod that heavy.
It was an
before.
action sample.
So we had a 2 and a 4, and we
So
had
we just put both of them on there.
2 plus 4 equals
9.
But if you're not going to drop on the next one, since this just caught a fish,
You're more welcome to use my rod and reel. I'm gonna go.
So we would like to formally introduce you to the Railer. This right here is our latest jig, and we have coined it the Railer, which is a little play off of the SJ Railer rod that we have, but really it's got its name because of these water lines on either side of the rounded side of the jig. What's going on with this jig is it's another shorter presentation for the weight that it is. I'm holding a 430 gram jig here. We play off that torpedo style mold, but because it's shorter, it's also a little wider, and the width gives us the ability to put these gutters or these water lines in. And the idea is that once you've splashed this in the water and tension your spool a little bit, these water lines assist in water running along the jig to help it get vertical and then to help it fall faster. That's the goal. We're always trying to come up with a jig that can get down quick, which helps you, 1, save time, 2, battle drift speed and current and things like that, and give you more time in the strike zone on the bottom. These water lines will also, once it's fluttering, create a little bit of water confusion, a little sound, and hopefully be attractive to get one of those reaction bites. I put a snowy grouper on the deck with this jig yesterday.
Yeah, let it go into the mud and then come out of it with the mud.
yeah. Here we go. Tight.
That's a decent fish too right there.
There we go.
There you go, boys.
Is this the first catch on the 530 All Glow Railer? Maybe. Stay tuned. Also, if I can, let's see. Guys, I'm using the heaviest action Trinity rod that we're debuting at ICAST next month, and will be available later this year. It's our partnership with Daiwa. They approached us. We put together some of the components and specs. John's tight.
Oh!
Sure he's not on there.
Something tapped me, and then right when I redropped into whatever.
That's good to be in that mud. That action, that dust cloud, it brings those fish too. They want to check it out. You know, they're curious.
Couple bounces.
He should be floating by now.
No way. All right.
I'll leave the jig in there for you guys for your effect.
Got him. There we go, baby. Very excited. First time using the 530 gram Railer. There she is. It's that All Glow profile, but I like the Railer. What we did was, this jig is about 1 centimeter longer than the one drop. So it's a touch longer, but we still kept that compact length, and we gave it some water lines to help the water stream through it as it's descending. Flat side on back, rounded side on top, just to give it that bow and weave and that flutter on the bottom. And there's the result of that drop. Beautiful snowy grouper out here with Angler's Envy out of Canaveral. Thank you guys. Bouncer 1, Chris 1. The race is on.
We're offering this jig right now, kind of a limited release in 2 color patterns. One is the infamous All Glow color pattern, and another favorite of ours we call the Silver Ghost Glow, and we've got glow along the water lines of this jig. And we actually did it in 130, 230. We skipped 330 for now and went right to 430 and 530. So already I'm thinking we're gonna see more colorways out of this jig, and I almost regret not going forward with the 330 size right away. But right now we got 4 sizes and 2 color patterns. And this jig was a lot of fun to use yesterday. All come fully outfitted and rigged with our new Pro Jigger single assist hooks. The 430s and 530s have the 6.0s. The 230s have the 5.0s, and the 130s have the 4.0s.
It's one angler's ending.
Get him, Mike.
Safe coast. We're gonna get this fish, guys. We're gonna get him.
That's it.
It's a good one.
I think that's a keeper.
All right, guys, we got a 20-pound snowy grouper on Angler's Envy Charters. My buddy Chris hooked me up, and we're just out here having fun. I got that again. All right. Oh my God! Look at this thing.
There we go. I'm tight. I got fish. Little guy. It's been quite the day. Vermi. So that's a vermilion snapper or a beeliner, or up in the panhandle a mingo.
It's also dinner.
It is dinner. I think he's too small. So these guys got to be 12 inches, but that's a vermilion snapper. They're very delicious, very good to eat, but this guy's going to go back down. So we'll send him down. He should swim right down.
Hats off to Captain Chris and Captain Aiden on Angler's Envy. If you guys are looking to book a slow pitch jigging specific trip, absolutely keep these guys in mind. If you're in the mid to South Florida area, they're out of Canaveral. They got a website, anglersenvycharters.com. So hats off to you guys for taking us out and putting us on fish and having a great day. Thank you, Captain Bouncer and Michael Falk from Falk Fishing, for setting this trip up. Bouncer, it was a real pleasure and treat to fish with you.
Thanks for watching, guys. Don't forget to like and subscribe. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok.
Keep banging that bottom. Jig on.